A little bit of Turkey as well as Germany, and Jeremy Schaap, ESPN's very own Jeremy Schaap, will join us later. But first, look at these amazing scenes from Houston, Texas, as the Dutch Orange Army invaded Texas because it was all about this game. Netherlands kicked things off with the early game yesterday, and they got a big 5-1 win over Sweden. Get this, guys. Did you know that Netherlands' last official loss at a World Cup was actually against Spain in the 2010 final? Because the rest have been on penalties, and statistically, that doesn't count.
That sounds a bit like coke, but I'm not sure, yeah.
Come on, let's give the Dutch Army some vibes. Speaking of vibes, the Germans said, hold my beer because we can bring some vibes too. These are the German fans taking over Toronto, Canada for their game. They had a big game as well. Remember, they absolutely slapped up Curacao in their opening game. We expected a much bigger task against Ivory Coast, but they managed to pass it, all thanks to one man, Dennis Undav, who came off of the bench and made all the difference for Julian Nagelsmann as they had to come from behind. Ivory Coast had the lead, but the two goals from this man from Stuttgart, Ale, made the difference.
Ivory Coast had the lead and had the chances to increase that lead. They did not, and Dennis Undav said, yeah, I got this, 2-1.
Well, speaking of big performances from big players, if you didn't know Eloy Room, well, make room for him on your list, because he has made history as Curacao, the smallest nation to qualify for the World Cup, also got their very first point after a draw with Ecuador. Eloy Room making 15 saves in that match. That actually ties Tim Howard's record of the most saves made in a World Cup game that he set back in 2014 when the USA went up against Belgium. As for Japan, well, remember this man, Herb Renard, was brought in to try and steady the ship for Tunisia after they lost the first game.
Well,
but nothing much changed, Ale, as they went down 4-0 to Japan.
Yeah, I suppose that Tunisia is in trouble. And by trouble, I mean they're gone. Out. See y'all later.
They are gone indeed. All right, well, here's a look at the teams that have already been eliminated at the World Cup. So Tunisia will now join Turkey as well as Haiti, that after 2 games, they will be making their way back home. But let's talk about Germany's group, shall we? Because it is very much their group indeed. Because after the results that we saw last night, that means that they have won the group, 6 points, 2 wins from 2, and that is all thanks to Dennis Undav. Ale, the big question now is, should he start?
I'm saying this for a friend, somebody that I know very well. I have a very soft spot for undersized, stocky strikers, thick.
There's a compliment in there somewhere.
Well, there is. I just believe that Dennis Undav understands who he is as a player, and he is very goal dangerous. And what we have seen is that when he gets on the field in this role as super sub, he gets opportunities, and more times than not, he takes those opportunities. And while I think that he has done enough to start, I also know that Julian Nagelsmann is very stubborn. And Julian Nagelsmann is not going to sit down Kai Havertz just yet. He hinted as much following the match, in which he was obviously asked about Dennis Undav, and he's like, well, but in this role, he's really thriving. No, nobody wants to be the super sub. The super sub is the guy that everybody leans on. It's like, yeah, this guy's going to make a difference off the bench. But once you have that super sub role on you, that means that you're never going to start. And that's exactly what I think Julian Nagelsmann has said about Dennis Undav. And he said, well, in this role, he's really helping us. And I think he's very happy. And I suppose you're happy when you're scoring goals. But if you're Dennis Undav, and again, I have a soft spot for the stocky, undersized strikers.
I can't think why.
It's like looking in a mirror.
Well, yeah, maybe so. But much like that friend of mine who's stuck in undersized, I did not like the super sub role, and neither does Dennis Undav. He wants to start, but I don't think Julian Nagelsmann is going to make that decision just yet.
Nadim, you actually were making a case for Undav to kind of play alongside Kai Havertz. You thought that he could complement him.
Yeah, but that is kind of like a super sub. I think for the position Undav's in, for him to be coming off the bench, the state of the game is in a different position to the start of the game. I think Havertz works really well to sort of chip away at the opposition, and we've seen him score goals as well. And I think when it's time to bring on someone like an Undav, yes, you can go to a front two as such. Because for Nagelsmann, the decision is, well, are you dropping Musiala or are you dropping Havertz? But I think those two can work quite well together. So this idea of a super sub, I know you'll probably hate it, but I'll tell you a worse position. Nicolas Voltemada, he's sitting on the bench.
Yes.
He's a cheerleader.
That's a no sub at all.
That's a no sub at all. That is like you're training, you're watching the game, you're cheering everybody on. And I think for Undav himself, the impact that he's having is great. And I think the fact Nagelsmann will look to the bench and know this is the guy I need straight away. Obviously, he wants more game time. That's the way it has to be. But his impact is definitely there regardless.
All right, well, Undav definitely helped Germany, but let's move on now to talk about the Netherlands. This is a look at the Group F standings. Remember, they did draw their opening game. Well, they managed to get the big win last night over Sweden. So the question is, who do you think is looking like a stronger team? Ale, we're bringing back the whole Germany-Netherlands rivalry. So if we do compare them to what we've seen from the Germans, who's looking like a stronger team?
Well, it's hard to turn away from the performance of the Netherlands yesterday and how quickly they were able to turn defending into attacking and how quickly they got numbers forward and how dynamic they were in 1v1 situations. I think one of the limitations that I thought the Netherlands had coming into this tournament is that in the attack, I did not think that they had enough game changes. Well, if we're going to take yesterday's match against Sweden as the evidence, then I was 100% wrong. Although I do think that there are some limitations instead for this team. So in the totality of the play and in the totality of who they are as a team, I'm still going to take Germany over the Netherlands, but it's hard to ignore what the Netherlands were able to do against Sweden yesterday.
I quite liked the Netherlands yesterday because I thought in the first game against Japan, I didn't think they were great overall. I think giving up the lead twice and almost becoming quite negative in their game, I didn't really enjoy that. But that game yesterday was ruthless because I saw a world where, Sweden will do a good job. Their attackers in a way that do, and Isak Gyökeres is going to cause them problems. And it was goal after goal after goal after goal. And I liked as well that Brobbey comes in for Somerville, a completely different type of player, but has huge impact. I think his first goal with the strength and then the set, the speed and the finish. I was like, okay, is this the way the Dutch are going to do it? And when we see their upside, they do look really, really good. And you could argue that the players in the Netherlands team are in better form right now, relatively speaking, than some of those Germans trying to find theirs.
So you're taking the Netherlands?
I'm taking the Netherlands.
He's taking the Netherlands.
Yes.
All right, well, speaking of the Netherlands, a lot of their players were born in the Netherlands, and so are Curacao players, and they absolutely made their tiny island nation proud yesterday as they held Ecuador to a 0-0 draw. That means that Curacao, now the smallest nation to ever get a point at the World Cup. They were already the smallest nation to qualify for a World Cup. And Nadam, this is the feel-good story that we love.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, especially given the fact that they just got hit for 7 the game before. So who would have thought that going into the next game, they would find a way to have a clean sheet. But, when Room's having to make 15 saves in a game, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but I think...
Only Shaka Hislop could do that.
Listen, yeah, that's a fact. And I think his record's a bit different to Tim Howard's because he kept a clean sheet, but Tim didn't.
Eventually, the US lost that game.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a crazy amount of work for them to sort of go through. And I think I was disappointed in some ways from Ecuador because I expected more. And don't get me wrong, Curacao were very much on the back foot. But the fact that they ended up getting those points, and it's a reminder of so many different types of stories at this World Cup. Because for them, they're celebrating that 0-0 like it's it's a 1-0 winner against a giant. But for them, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a win for Curacao. There you have it, him tying Tim Howard's record for the most saves ever in a FIFA World Cup match. But as Nadam pointed out, the USA went on to lose that game against Belgium, whereas Eloy Room managed to get a point for his nation. And much like Bosnia, this seems to be the World Cup of goalkeepers. Well, much like Bosnia, who absolutely shot up on social media right after and got about 10 million followers, just have a look at now. Well, he started out with about 100,000 followers. That's almost in and around the entire population of Curacao. I'm literally looking at his social media right now. It's not quite on the Bosnia levels that he now has 15 million, but he has 945,000 and climbing.
I've seen something. I just looked at her phone. She's not following him. So you're not part of this.
Okay, well, I'm going to follow now. Maybe I'll follow now.
Too good to follow him as well, yeah?
Guys, I cannot, because please remember Curacao knocked out Jamaica. So there's a little Caribbean rivalry there, and I'm still very salty.
You realize that I have no idea what you just said. All of which you just said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I do know,
the social
however...
media followers?
Yeah, all of that. All of that.
Ale's not on Instagram.
Or any of that stuff, to be honest with you. Call me old school. I don't know. I live in the real world. What can I tell you? Yeah. In any case, because all those followers, whatever, they're all going to disappear after this World Cup is over. The dream is coming to an end. But I'm a big on positivity, and I would tell you it's an outstanding performance from Curaçao. However, I do think that this is far more about Ecuador and not being able to win a game that was a must-win for them. It was such a disappointment. You alluded to it, but it was such a disappointment to see Ecuador to struggle to score goals. But it's not a surprise given the fact that they've only scored 14 goals in 18 qualifiers in South America. That trend continues. This team should be doing much better. They are not. Great for Curaçao, awful for Ecuador.
See, Ale's looking at it from the Venezuela perspective, because he was saying if Venezuela were in it, they would score some goals, right, Ale? All right, well, we've got you covered throughout the World Cup.
Is that a backhanded compliment? It felt like it.
Nathan was burning that midnight oil last night talking Germany. You can find it out on YouTube. Coming up next, will we finally get the Lamine Yamal show on the world's biggest stage? We're talking Spain next.